Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
It's been 5 years, and the Geekcast Radio Network would like to give back to you. How, you may ask? Well, first of all, we're coming up with a brand new website to be launched June 1st, 2014. In addition to that, there'll be many new features for interactive abilities. So how do you enter into this magical celebration? Well, Geekcast Radio has a contest where you can win some awesome prizes, ranging from comics, Blu-rays, DVDs, trade paperbacks, and comics, and more. How do you enter? Write in your favorite stories of how the Geekcast Radio Network has affected you in the last 5 years, and how it's unleashed the geek in you. You can also enter by writing reviews on our shows on iTunes. For more information, visit www.geekcastradio.com and click on the banner. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.
This is Kevin Conroy, and I am the goddamn Batman.
Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is episode 67. This is the official start of the Batman 75th Anniversary Month coverage here inside The Pull Bag. I am, of course, your host, TFG and Mike. Joining me is Steve Megatron. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Tired and good, but for the most part, good.
Tired. Yeah, we are here, and we are here to kick off Batman Month with something from the future. Throughout the span of May, we will go through 13 podcast episodes. Yes, I know, I went overboard. Sorry. I actually give a preview of what's going to be coming up in the next episode, episode 68, so I'm not going to repeat myself here, and people will be like, repeat yourself much? But today, we're here to talk about Batman Eternal. But before we get to that, we have two emails, both from Scanner51, one of our super fans. He says, Scanner51 here, let me start by saying, hell of a podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed everything I listened to on the network. I love the episode you guys did on the variant covers. A lot of what you said I agree with, but mainly the pricing and the OCD aspect of it. Several months ago, I got the chance to meet Jim Lee, so I bought 2 variant covers of Justice League number 1. I paid $5 over list price for both. Not mad about that. I saw that he did before Watchmen Night Owl number 1, cool looking cover, went to buy it and saw it was at least $200 online. $200! There was no way I was going to drop $200 for that, plus my wife would kill me if I did. As for the OCD part of it, I have become obsessed with the white blank variant covers from DC, currently trying to get them all. I have 4 to go. I also become obsessed with covers that connect together, form mini posters. JSA, JLA from the mid-2000s were great for these covers. I'm missing 2, but I'm fine with that. I don't know the point of variant covers other than to entice people to buy them to spend more money. They got me on Forever Evil number 2, but I was able to get Ethan Van Sciver to sign the cover for me. I'm going to try and limit my buying variant covers from now on. Again, if I buy too many, my wife might kill me. Love the Pull Bag. Talk to you guys again. Keep up the great work. And then he wrote in again and says, first off, great podcast. My 10-month-old and I listen to the network on our Friday walks. As I wrote above, I have a 10-month-old daughter. When told we were having a girl, all I could picture was a princess and fairies, But hey, there are strong female heroes out there too for her to look up to. So for the past 10 months, I have been buying female-centric comic covers for her room. Batgirl, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and so on. I'm very picky, but about what I buy. The cover has to be cool-looking and, of course, female, have a strong, powerful look, and at least 3/4 of the hero must be visible. Man, that 4th quarter always gets dropped, doesn't it? I think the coolest one she has is a JSA cover of Liberty Bell by Alex Ross. I've been doing the same for myself, though with the hopes to get either the artist or writer to sign it later. It's like a cool wallpaper now for both her room and our empty third bedroom. My wife is not on board with this idea. My question is, do any of you guys collect comics based on cover artwork alone? Basically, to me, it's like I'm collecting art and putting it up for display. Like I said, cool looking wallpaper. Thanks for reading, your loyal listener, Scanner51. For me, I will buy a cover, or I will buy a book, but it's because the cover's part of it, but it has to be a story I want to read. The whole point of comic covers, it's the same thing as a movie trailer or a commercial on TV. It's to entice you to pick it up and see what it's about. And most of the time, I try to find the coolest covers I can. However, at the same time, I've turned into where I'm not even collecting comics at this point. I am getting them, reading them, enjoying them at the time, recording podcasts about them here inside the pull bag, and then trading them in for the next, batch of stuff that I want to get. What about you, Steve? Do you collect the comics for the cover arts?
Sometimes. Sometimes it depends on the cover. Like, sometimes I could not give a crap less about the interior, and just because the cover art is so spectacular, I consider the story in the book to be bonus material. If it's something I didn't care for anyway. But I've been known to pick up an issue here or there just based on the cover. Like, I think Legend or The Dark Knight. It was a Batman comic. They had an issue where it showed Bane breaking Batman's back.
Yep.
And I picked it up because of the nostalgia for the Nightfall comics where Bane did that to Batman. And it was very reminiscent of that old issue. So I picked it up because it's modern art of Batman and comics, and I've actually never read the issue.
Yeah, I keep hearing about Batman and Bane breaking his back. I've seen it in animation several different times. We kind of saw it in The Dark Knight Rises, but I still have yet to read that story. I need to go back and read that eventually. All right, so like I said, we are here to talk about the first 4 issues of Batman Eternal, and you might be listening to this and saying, but TF2 and Mike, you said no more single issue coverage anymore. What's going on here? Well, here's the thing. Batman Eternal is a year-long weekly series that DC is doing, celebrating 75 years of Batman. Yes, the pull bag has gone to trade coverage, but I just couldn't wait with these because you may or may not agree with me. I don't know. Because you and I haven't really talked about Eternal too much. Kind of saving it for this. I am in love with this book after reading these first 4 issues. It's just as good. I'm not going to say it's better than, but it's on the same level of awesomeness as the Court of Owls story that Snyder did for the first run of the ongoing. And I have to be able to talk about these in singles, at least for now. It might change when we get to issues 5 through 8. I might stop after that. I don't know. What were your initial thoughts on Batman Eternal and the whole 5-year jump and everything else?
I mean, honestly, I like the being jumped in the future rather than jumping 5 years, 10 years in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6.
Yeah. All right, so we're just going to dive right into it now. I have the print issues. I believe the first 4 print issues might be going into the the prize packs for the GCRN 5-year online contest. I don't know yet. But I am looking at these through Comixology, so I'll be going through them on their guide. Ladies and gentlemen, when Steve first got me into comics, when he coaxed me into reading Death of the Family, issue 13 of Batman, I was solely print. I need it in my hand. Digital? What's that? I'm not going to buy a $500 iPad just to read some damn comics. And I found out that Comixology, you can use their website to do the same thing you could do on an iPad. It's just on your computer. And their guided view technology is so amazing because it takes you basically storyboard by storyboard, and it draws your eye to certain things. And what they draw your eye to it just depends on what the panel is, but it's absolutely amazing. So we start out with the end. Gotham is burning. That's not good. That's not good at all.
I like it better when it burns.
God, all I can think of now is, let me tell you something. Oh, Fire Marshal Bill. Gotham is burning, and someone says, your allies have been slaughtered. Your city is burning to the ground. I have taken everything from you piece by piece. Watch, Bruce. Watch as you lose everything. And then we flash to now. I gotta say, having the story start like this is very interesting. Excuse me, very interesting. Because you have no idea what's going on at the end. So we see, Gotham is basically, it's basically under martial law. It's got a curfew now, and we see, Harvey Bullock and Bard, Jason Bard, transfer lieutenant out of Detroit, and they're meeting for the first time, and Bard thought that he was going to be meeting Gordon, and a firefight breaks out. And I believe that Gordon is talking to Batman. And we have Professor Pig. Now, Professor Pig, the first time I had ever seen him, ever knew about him, was the Beware the Batman cartoon. Seeing him in that and comparing that to this, it's very interesting how they adultified him compared to what he is in the cartoon, as far as his mask goes, because his mask is more obviously cartoonish, because it's a cartoon in the cartoon, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Gordon is facing off with Professor Pig, and then we run into Batman. What do you think of the art in this so far?
Not that bad, actually. It's pretty much along the same lines as what we've been reading in Detective.
Yeah.
It's almost like Capullo's art.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the artist on this one, the artist on all four of these actually, is Jason Fabuk. And he does amazing, amazing work. So Batman comes in, saves the day, asks about how the children are, and Gordon says some of them might need to go to the hospital. Pig dosed them with something trying to make them into Dolotrons, but they're alive, Batman, for now. And you, Commissioner, this warhorse is still some fight left in him. And they go and attack, and we then switch to another part of the story where looks like someone's robbing us. Oh no, this is another part of the story. They're chasing them. That's right. And Batman says, "Take the stray man. I've got Pig." It's really. And this is really where the story picks up, because we all know what's going to happen when Batman catches Professor Pig, so I think it's great that they have the reader follow Gordon instead of Batman, because I mean it's Batman. I mean, come on.
Yep.
So we get to Pig. We then flash back to the cave, and Alfred calls him. He says, "You should get down to the subway, sir. The commissioner is chasing his man on the tracks. But there are trains approaching from both directions." Dun, dun, dun. Copy that, Penny One. Okay, I need to talk about this. Okay, I recently, as of, I think, the start of 0 year, it might have happened in Death of the Family, but I don't remember it because I would have bitched about it then, too. Batman says, "Oh, okay, I know Batman can't say Alfred. I get that because people would figure it out. But calling, Cave One or Penny One, it's just a little thing that irks the hell out of me." What do you think about the chase so far?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I don't know. Like the first issue, I'm kind of meh on. Like
Mhm.
I'm liking the dynamic of focusing more on Gordon
Mhm.
and Batman, but uh,
Yeah.
it the what is it? Having the old crime bosses and having the crooked mayor and everything going on. You can definitely tell they're gearing up for something huge.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because it's not just the crooked mayor. Major Forbes is also crooked. We meet him, and he's talking to Bard and Bullock, and and then Forbes says, "Then you don't understand a damn thing." Not that Gordon does either, never did quite grasp how this city is supposed to work. So you can clearly tell, without even really knowing a lot about Forbes, that he's crooked. Because this is going back Snyder is kind of referencing year one a little bit with the whole crooked police thing and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like that. So we get back to the man on the tracks that Jim was chasing. Now, I was kind of confused about this at first, but then I looked at the panel again, and the dude is holding a gun. So I don't know if it's supposed to be ours. It's supposed to be Gordon's perspective. Shit. Gordon's perspective and our perspective that the guy holds a gun, or if it's supposed to be that we're just being lied to the whole time because after Gordon shoots the guy, there's no gun. But in all of these panels, even when Gordon shoots at the guy and hits the high voltage line, um, there's still a gun in the guy's hand, and then there's no gun. So Batman is screaming, "Cut all power on the grid! I don't care how many buildings it shuts down. Stop those trains! The system's not responding, sir. Override it, damn it!" When we get to the train, they're not going to be able to stop. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. And we end up having a train wreck. And it's a massive, massive train wreck. And what's so great about the Comixology going guided view panel by panel is you get storyboarded shots of this train wreck in small little pieces of how everyone's affected, how Batman's affected, and after the page where Batman's affected, it's just black. And then you arrow over to the next page, and I was just trying to disarm him. I never meant to. And, Batman says, Jim, I was patching the security footage. That man wasn't carrying a gun. Yes, he was. We all saw it.
Yeah, it's starting to look very fishy, like they're framing him on purpose.
Yeah, pretty much. And, this is where the whole frame up happens. The crooked cops want to get rid of the good cop. And then I love the exchange between Gordon and Bard. You're the new recruit, Jason Bard from Detroit, right? It's an honor to meet you, sir. I just wish you'll do great, son. I wouldn't have recruited you if I thought otherwise. Do you remember what I said to you back over the phone? Yes, of course. No, not you. What?
Oh, I don't know. Continue.
Not you. I'm reading the line. Do you remember what I said to you back over the phone? Yes, of course. Don't you forget it. Don't you ever forget it. Now do your job so you can get to helping these people. I'm not important. They are. And he asks him, do you understand? Yes, sir. So they arrest Jim Gordon. And we flash to... can you believe the commissioner did all this? Well, he's only human. He was bound to screw up sometime. We all can't be Batman. Can't you see it now, Bruce? Can't you see the grand design? Next, James Gordon, public enemy #1. I liked the first issue. It pulled me into the world. It leaves me with questions of what's going on, like what happened during these 5 years, or what happened between the then and the now, and how it all happened. And I know that Snyder and his team of writers, because it's not just Snyder on this book, it's Scott Snyder, James Tynion IV, Ray Fox, Fawkes, John Layman, and Tim Seeley. And it's really, really interesting. I will say, though, that I'm just... They really need to get rid of Channel 52.
I really hate that. I wish they'd just bring back the letters page.
Yeah, pretty much. Because if they want to advertise things that are happening throughout the Batman universe or the New 52, that's what they should use this all access page for. That's really what they should use that for. But anyway, first issue overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good read. I thought reading it in the guided view on Comixology was an interesting way for storytelling. Very awesome. It made me want to really pick up the second issue, which obviously I did because we'll be talking about it. What are your overall thoughts on the first issue?
Nice setup overall. It's nothing spectacular yet.
Keyword there is yet. So for issue 2, the cover is a Batman silhouette with Jim Gordon in cuffs. What do you think of this cover?
I think it's a cover.
Doesn't entice you at all?
I mean, I like it. I like the silhouette of Batman over the front of it, but I find the covers are great for this. Some of the stuff I wish would move a little bit faster, but I get that they're setting up for something epic.
Mm.
So I'm still.
So issue 2 opens up with Gotham City Hall. And we have Mayor Haiti. talking with Forbes, I believe, and we see, we have Mayor Haiti finding someone that is saying exactly what I said it would. Haiti goes, "What the hell is this damn city coming to?" And then someone shows up. Exactly what I said it would 5 years ago. He said, "You!" And we don't really find out who that person is just yet. We get a nice wide shot of the train accident. And then we go to Vicky Vale and her editors and her other people. They want to run the story, or her editor wants her to run the story, but there's no real facts in yet. I love the other guy. He says after the editor tells Vicky to post it, he says the other guy says, "There walks a man I would happily beat to death with a sledgehammer." And then Vicky says, "You've been reading way too many Joker retrospectives. Let's just get this thing over with." Thought that was absolutely awesome. So we go to Cherry Hill. This is where Barbara Gordon lives, and we're focused on a picture of her and her father. And her phone or bat signal thing, whatever, just went off. She says, "I just heard about the accident. I'm changing into my work clothes now." Batgirl, there's more than an accident. In this city, I mostly figured, who's behind it this time, Batman? That's why I called. I thought you should hear it from me. And then apparently he tells her, and she's just like, no. And we go back down to we get onto the Narrows, and we see Harper Row. Yay, Harper Row. Oh, God. So her and her brother, technically she's part of the Bat family now, I guess, and we see her, we see the Red Hood, we see Luke, who I assume is Luke Fox. Yeah, Fox Manor. We see him, we see Batwoman, we see Red Robin, who apparently is in New York. He's in Metropolis of all places. I mean, New York City. I do love the exchange, though. Forgive me, but should you really be discussing this mid-battle? It's Alfred on the comm. And he goes, "It's just robots, not the hearing kind of robots either. How can you be sure? I built them." Absolutely love that. So we come back to Gotham Central booking. We're going to get you out of there, Commissioner. Step out of the shadows so I can see you. Nobody's on guard. They're still down at the subway station pulling out bodies. And he says, "How many people I have to know, Batman." And the panel where it shows Batman's face is just, it's priceless. It really is, because this is some big shit that Gordon has got himself into. So they have a conversation. What do you think of how they're portrayed here, between the friendship between Batman and Gordon here?
It's showing that Batman's not gonna give up on Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely love that. So we get back down to we go to the roof of City Hall later, and we see that Mayor Hattie is remembering the bodies washed up along the breakers, the way your men would burn away every discernible creature. Do you remember the other side of it, Sebastian? Do you remember the way the city would bend to your will? And we still don't see this character. I mean, and that's what I love about this second issue is we're still left in the dark as to who this actually is. Because it's not Poison Ivy, it's not Two-Face, it's not the Joker. He's probably dead, but we come to find out. I think we find out in this issue that it is Carmine Falcone, which is interesting. And the eye. Oh, we switched to. This is an active crime scene. You can't be down here. It's on days like this you wonder in the depths of your mind why you came to the city, don't you, Officer Strode? How did you know my name? I know a lot of things, Nancy. For instance, 30 seconds from now, you won't remember that I was even here. You won't remember the way looking directly into my eyes made you feel. And it's this mysterious green guy who apparently is, what's his name? Major Forbes. So that's interesting. Still loving Jason Fabok's art is amazing in this. It really is. All the different colors and the way the designs are on the city. We go to Arkham, and it's it got a little weird in here in Arkham, don't you think?
As far as
the giant green skeleton,
I guess so.
I mean, Blackfire. That's a little strange. We go back to the MTA building. Batman's basically knocked everybody out. And we run into Catwoman. This is really what makes the story interesting for this issue. And she realizes that it's different tonight. And he says, I don't have time. I don't have time for you right now, Catwoman. She's like, ouch. She's basically flirting the hell out of with Batman, and I like their dynamic here. I'm still not too much of a fan of the orange goggles, but the rest of the suit looks great on her. And Batman's trying to figure out who is behind all of this. And he goes, no, not him. And we find out that it is like I said, Carmine and
the mayor.
God, yeah, and the mayor. And we see that it is Carmine, and it's something happened within these 5 years, and again, we get to, like, why does the ambush bug have to be the news reporter now? Oh, God, these Channel 52 things. Oh, my God. Overall, issue 2 was really, really exciting. I absolutely love the art in it. I love the way that Fabok has designed Catwoman. I love the design on Falcone. I love how Snyder's writing is really keeping me on the edge of my seat. This is what I look for in a comic. If the comic can keep me on the edge of my seat and keep me guessing and not being able to predict what the hell is going to happen next, then it's done its job. If it's not something that is, as I'm reading it, is boring the hell out of me, then it's done its job. What are your final thoughts on the second issue?
Overall, not too bad. It was nice seeing some cameos in there from other people other than Batman, as well as showing that he actually is afraid of somebody that's not a freak.
Yep. I'm just waiting for. Oh wait, I'm sorry. They're both dead. I was gonna say I'm waiting for Damien and Dick Grayson to show up, but they're both dead. Um, issue three. Issue three. As soon as I saw this cover, I was like, "Oh my god, yes!" It is the Batmobile screeching down the street with an explosion behind it. Which I believe those are either criminals' cars or cop cars. I can't figure out which ones. I don't see any actual police markings, but it could be either or.
It could be.
What do you think of the Batmobile design on the cover for issue 3?
I like that one. Not my favorite, but I still like it.
Yep. So, in issue 3, this is where we get more of the return of Stephanie Brown. Now, the last time you and I talked about her was in Batman 28, when they gave us a preview of what Eternal was going to look. And here's the thing: do you remember reading 28?
Do I remember what one?
Issue 28 of the ongoing.
Is that the one where Batman was in the future?
Yep.
Yeah, then I do.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's going to be the outcome, because they gave us a glimpse there, but here they're telling us how that's going to become reality. So I'm wondering where that fits in, basically. Because this is leading up to that, because right now we're being introduced to Stephanie Brown here in Eternal, and she's out on the street, and her mother's like, "Stephanie Brown, you listen to your mother." She wants to go back to her father's house because she forgot something. She goes back, and she sees that her father is actually the Clue Master. What? You've got to be kidding me. Seriously? A Batman villain so... I mean, it's like friggin' Sandman or something from the 66 series. Oh, God, the Clue Master. Sounds like a Flash villain.
Yeah, it sounds really lame.
It is really... It doesn't sound really lame. It is really lame. So his associates are like, "Arthur, you told us we wouldn't be disturbed. It was your job to secure the place. Look up. For God's sakes, call me Clue Master." "Dad, why are you dressed like that? Who are these people? What the hell is going on here?" And they basically shut her up. We go to GCPD headquarters later, and we see more with Bullock and Forbes, and Bullock's like, "You watch your mouth, Forbes." And we are introduced to Captain Maggie Sawyer. It was interesting to see her here, considering she's usually in Metropolis.
I had no idea who the hell she was.
Maggie Sawyer was, at least from the DC animated universe, she was a top cop in Metropolis with Dan Turpin. In the comics, I believe she was Batwoman's girlfriend. So there is that. So Bard goes to see the commissioner. Bard says, "You won't be in here long." You're not the first person to say that tonight. I doubt I'll be the last. And they go through the fact of he's out there, Batman's out there, he's doing his job, and Bard walks away. We then cut to the Iceberg Casino later, and we see the Penguin. What do you think of this design of the Penguin?
It's kind of a mix between the first BTAS and the first Bat film.
Yeah.
And partially from the previous of the comics. So, I mean, I kind of see what they're going for. I mean, it's the Penguin. I haven't really liked any of the Penguin um, styles since maybe
Yeah.
the 60s.
Mm-hmm. So Batman shows up. Penguin tries to make some small talk. Batman basically just screams, "Enough! Tell me everything you know about the whereabouts of Carmine Falcone. What is this? Are you trying to ruffle my feathers? He's gone, long gone. I made sure of that years ago." Because the Penguin is under the impression that he rules the city now, and Batman says, "You're telling me you don't know what's happening?" The Batman is trying to give me a history lesson, apparently. Carmine Falcone is back in Gotham City. That's not possible. I would have heard. I would have known. If I find out that you're working together, after what I did to him, you think he would ever side with me? So this is setting up something that the Penguin did to Carmine that we don't know just yet, and that's really interesting to see. And again, the whole history thing, the whole what has happened in these 5 years. I love how the Snyder and the rest of the writers are basically just drawing this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. So we go back to the mayor's office. With Major Forbes is there now with Falcone and the mayor. Forbes says, "I'd say the police have better things to do than worry about something like that." Now that's just what I was hoping you'd say. We then go back to the Batcave, and the Batcave's a little bit interesting. I don't know how much it's changed over these past 5 years, but if you look at that first panel, it has one of the original Bat suits, and what I can only assume is the Robin suit. One of them, anyway. Has the super giant computer. And Batman basically says, "It doesn't add up, Alfred. None of it does." Derek Grady, the man Gordon chased out onto the train tracks, he left the city 5 years ago with the other top Falcone men. He was a ghost in the system until yesterday when he came back to Gotham City. He used his real name at the airport. It seems clear he wasn't Pig's henchman longer than a few hours. Did he walk into the room and Pig's deluded mind merely accepted his presence? So I love how Batman's trying to figure all this out, and I love how Alfred is trying to help him. What do you think of this? The whole detecting thing here.
It's fine.
It's
I don't
fine.
I don't really have any preference about it.
What do you think of the art in the cave? How the art's done in the cave?
Doesn't really look all that much different than it normally would.
Yeah, there's a few slight differences, but it's.
I mean,
not...
the suitcase was,
very
displays
different.
was different, but I mean, for the most part, other than that, it really wasn't anything major.
And the final page in the cave is we see Batman heading to the Batmobile, and we see basically, I don't know what. This is like a mixture of the '89 to the Batman Forever and part of the Tumbler a little bit, don't you think? For the Batmobile?
Yeah, it was a little strange looking how they set that up. I like it, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. So then we cut back to the home of Arthur Brown, who is Stephanie's father. And they're saying that there's only one loose end, and that's the girl. She wakes up. Her father's going to shoot her. And she says stop. She gets away, jumps out the window. Please, God, this can't be happening to me. We go to Gotham City later. Somebody pulls a gun on Batman. He says, I'm guessing you're the man who led this operation. Trying to encroach on the Penguin's territory is a dangerous game. You'll be safer in Blackgate. So we then go back to the Iceberg Lounge with the Penguin and his henchmen. And we find out that it's a coordinated strike. Penguin's like, this is a private meeting, young man. I'm sorry, it's just 12 of our weapons depots across the city. They're all burning. And Penguin's like, no, not already. And somebody else asks him what's going on, and he says Falcone. Imperceptible man, Mr. Mosaic, hypnotic, Mr. Combustible. Call your men. I need them all tonight. This city is going to war. So the police are all getting ready to go for war, and Major Forbes basically comes in and says, no, we're not. We're not going anywhere. And then we switch back to the streets, and we see the Batmobile. Now, what do you think of it here in action?
I think it's in action.
Funny. And Batman's like, how can Falcone be so bold so quickly? How can he be so prepared? And he says, what the hell is going on? Going back to the GCPD, and they're arguing, and Maggie's like, people are dying out there. You don't have the authority to stop us from doing our jobs. Did you see the chalkboard?
Yeah, they have Joker and Court of Owls.
Yep.
That was a nice nod.
Cold cases, the Joker, question mark. Court of Owls. So that might be a hint for what's coming in the future after 0 Year. So we have Forbes and Haiti against Bullock and Sawyer. And she's basically telling him, look, they're counting on us to do our jobs. And then we see more of this chalkboard, and part of it says Cherry Hill, part of it says Icarus. There's a Jim Gordon thing on there. I'm trying to... Dick Grayson, Nightwing deceased. Jerks. So Forbes' basic mission for the police force now is to not even do anything about what Falcone is doing. Their mission is to hunt the vigilante known as Batman, and he draws a giant bat symbol on the board.
And he mentions 0 Year.
Yeah, he mentions 0 Year.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, at least it's just a mention. So Stephanie calls her mother, tells her what's going on. She doesn't tell her what's going on. She's talking to herself, waiting for the phone to pick up. And then we go next, Batman versus Batgirl. So we've got that. For issue 3, I gotta say, I'm still loving the story. I'm still, really interested to see what the heck is going on here, because it is very interesting. We've got so many things going on here. You've got whatever's going on with Cobblepot, you've got whatever whatever is going on with Falcone, you've got Professor Pig, you've got all these things going at once. And you would think juggling all of this stuff at once would make it seem like it's too much, or it would make it seem like it's a Spider-Man 3 syndrome. Snyder and the other writers do it very well. I mean, it's a whole story that, basically takes you in different directions without overloading you with too many things at once.
Yeah, I get that.
So the final issue we're going to talk about is, of course, issue 4. It's Batman versus Batgirl. The cover is basically Batman and Batgirl in a fight in a lightning storm. And again, this reminds me of the lightning strike from Dark Knight Returns when he is silhouetted against the lightning. Even though this time around it's just him and Batgirl fighting. Let me guess, you don't care for this cover either.
No, I like it.
Cool. So this issue is basically Batman and Batgirl all the way. There's a few revelations in here about Stephanie Brown, which is really interesting. This is something I did not see coming, and we'll get to a little bit later. We start with Batgirl. No, all this destruction, all this death. And then we go to this is all your fault, James Gordon. And she keeps saying no as she's fighting pigmen. And this is the trial of Gordon. And the judge is basically saying, because of your negligence, and it's interesting how they've crafted this script for this story. You've got the trial going on at one point, and you've got Batgirl fighting all these guys at the other point. And the conversation in the story, even though they're not talking to each other, the judge talking to Gordon, and it's like Batgirl, I assume she's basically hacked into some audio transceiver Batman has at the courthouse or something, and she's listening into the trial. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's an interesting way to tell the story. We go back to the trial. 162 dead, billions in damage, critical Gotham infrastructure destroyed. And the judge is like, I'm sorry, Commissioner, Mr. Gordon, but the prosecution is correct that you are a flight risk. Which, it's interesting, because I didn't expect Barbara to be at the trial. Well, I kind of did and I kind of didn't, but how they set up the story in the beginning with Batgirl on one side and the trial on the other, and then all of a sudden she's there at the trial, that was an interesting switch.
Yeah, it was kind of nice seeing her there, not necessarily having to be in the suit.
Right. And she stands up and yells out, "No, this isn't true. He didn't do it." And the judge says, "Order in the court." We flash to Batman versus Batgirl. And the title of the story, Injustice for All.
Yeah, that wasn't coincidental.
I just like the nod to Justice League. Batman and Batgirl here, they look straight. Like, I love Faybook's design on them, but they look weird.
Batman looks I noticed the art changed in this issue too.
Yeah,
but I almost like it better because it's almost like the Batman Beyond, Batman the Animated Series kind of stylized.
The reason why it changed in this issue isn't because it's Faybook anymore. The art in this one is pencils by Dustin Nguyen, inks by Derek Friedolfs, colorist is John Callas, and the lettering is Rob Lee. The cover was done by Jason Faybook. But it's basically Dustin Najin and Derek Friedolfs with the art. But this Batman here on this title page that we see, Batman Eternal and Justice for All, you know what he reminds me of?
Who?
Arctic Batman, the action figure, is what that reminds me of.
Nice.
And Batgirl, she kind of, her suit is, at least in this image, it's a little bit purple, so it kind of reminds me of the 66 Yvonne Craig suit. And even in the courtroom here as Barbara Gordon, her actual suit is a little bit black and purple, which is interesting. So she's still, popping off at the mouth, and the judge is like, you better shut, he doesn't say this, but basically, you better be quiet or you're going to find yourself in contempt. And Gordon, is basically telling her this isn't helping. And they take Gordon away, and we flash back to what I assume is the current, and, she says, leave me alone, Batman. Batgirl, you can't do this. I said, leave me alone. And I thought she was going to smack him. I really thought she was going to punch him out like Robin did in Old Wounds. That's what I was hoping for anyway. Batman's like, compose yourself, Batgirl. This panel with Batman saying that, his cowl, I don't know if it's... I think it's the nose, because the nose piece on the cowl here kind of reminds me of DeVito's penguin nose from Batman Returns. It's a little strange looking in that image. And he basically tells her, look around, Pig's henchmen, you're beating them half to death. And her response is, what are you going to start giving me lecture on excessive force now? They're scum. I call this justice. But this isn't justice you're after, is it? Did you see Jim Gordon today in that courthouse? I don't know what makes me madder. The look on his face as they hauled him away, or the smarmy smirk of that SOB Forbes as he sent a fellow member of the GCBD to the river, or up the river. Like you said, the various angles on Batman and Batgirl in their costumes, yeah, it looks very animated series-like, and I do like that. It's an interesting way to go, and I don't mind that the art changed, but I still would like to see more of Facebook on this. So we get to Stephanie Brown. She finally gets a hold of her mother, and she basically tells her, I can help you. Where are you? Stay there. I'll be there to get you. And her mother flips on some sort of video phone or something, and she basically contacts Stephanie's father, so she knows what's going on. I was like, wait, what? Come on, you gotta be kidding me. So she knows what's going on, apparently. That's interesting. I'm going to see. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We then go back to GCPD headquarters, and Forbes and Bart are going back and forth, and you see the paint guy painting over Gordon's office door. And Forbes is basically saying, Gordon's a sloppy cop who breaks laws and cuts corners. Maybe, sir, but Blackgate Prison? I feel sorry for anyone. And I feel sorry for all the families of every person whose death certificate I had to pour over after that train crash. So they're basically throwing the commissioner under the bus here. I'm not sure if While I like the art on Batman and Batgirl, the new art, I'm not sure if I like the new art on the cops. Harvey is fine. Harvey looks like Harvey is supposed to look. Although I will say they gave him a yellow jacket, so hey, Dick Tracy, yay! Let's see what else here. Any thoughts on the scene so far? Do you have a favorite scene to this point where we get the cops and everything else?
I don't have a favorite scene per se, but I am liking the direction that they're going, and it's kind of taking Batman's friend and mentor out of the equation.
Yeah. Yeah. So we go back to Batman, and he crashes down on one of the villains because we're at Falcone's penthouse. So Batman is basically kicking the crap out of everybody. Somebody says, "No more." What's going on here? I wanted to talk to Falcone. Your men didn't want to let me. You said no interruptions, boss. You said no interruptions. We'll discuss this later. You'll have to forgive my employees. The general competency of hirelings seems to have diminished in my absence. Batman asks him about Grady and everything else, and Batman basically points out that he's come here to start something and he's already begun, and basically leaves by telling him, "I'm watching you, Falcone." And then we get the Batwing. You really can't see it very well because it doesn't do a close-up on it, but that's an interesting hover Batwing, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
I hope we get to see more of that. So we get back to the cave, and Alfred says that Barbara refused to listen to reason, and we have Barbara and Bruce going over the computer, and she's looking at the footage again. She's looking at the holographic footage of the train crash and Commissioner's his shootout. And she finds a guy and does facial recognition, and Bruce is asking her, "This is your culprit based on what?" He's trying to show her that you have to step back and look at this objectively. You have to, not go off of emotions, and you have to, really get to the truth. And she says she's going to. She says, "I'm not going to let him, I'm not going to leave him to rot." And then we have Welcome to Blackgate, where the Commissioner is now being put into Blackgate Prison. And we see Warden Zerbatos. "Please call me Agatha. What an absolute pleasure to see you, Gordon." She's basically a female Nightwing because she has no eye. No right eye, anyway. So they basically stick Gordon in general population. Not a good thing for Gordon at all,
Nope.
whatsoever. Now, what do you think of this ending here? Because we're almost done with this one. And Gordon's cellmate, Leo, new guy. You can call me Leo. I'd say make yourself at home, but you shouldn't really bother. Cops in Blackgate, they don't last very long. And cops in Blackgate Gen Pop, they might as well skip the trial. You had your hand and hand you your death sentence right here and now. And we end with next Nanobot Nightmare. What do you think of this Leo guy? Do you think we've seen this happen before? Do you think that's Bruce?
No.
Really?
Yep.
See, I almost thought when I read it, I almost thought it might be Bruce to keep a better eye on Gordon. What is interesting about this issue is we get Batman and the New 52 of the future with the Channel 52 page. This is probably the only Channel 52 page I really kind of like. When futures end, the blood moon shall rise. We see Batman Beyond. We see some sort of other Batman. We see Superman robots. We see what else do we see here? I believe that's Mr. Terrific in the background. So very, very awesome. I cannot wait. Like, I am really stoked for this series. This series, all 4 issues are just amazing for me. They really are. What about you? Final thoughts on the 4th issue?
It's definitely leading somewhere. It seems like they, it's a lot nicer than what it once was at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it all has to do with story and setup, and they have to take at least the first 2 to set everything up, and then 3 and 4 kind of still set up, but not. They pay certain things off, but then they take you into other directions and new directions. Absolutely love it. We're going to take a quick break here, come back with final ratings after this.
Sorry, 3rd night in a row with no sleep.
We are back, and for the first 4 issues of Batman Eternal, issue 1, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I really did like it. It's a nice setup. It's interesting how Snyder and his team of writers can direct us in so many different things without taking away from each thing. Absolutely love that. I love the whole in the future thing without jump ahead in the future and then tell us in flashbacks of what the hell happened or whatever else. For the first issue, like I said, absolutely loved it. What about you?
It was pretty good. I really like the cover, so that's probably why I like that one just more.
Yeah, awesome. Issue 2, I thought it was pretty perfect storytelling. I'm going to give it a 5. I really thought it was great how they continued the Gordon setup, how they worked on the, they did the train accident, how we have this mysterious green-eyed monster somewhere, lurking around who I think is Forbes, but I could be wrong. What about you on issue 2?
I'd probably give it a 3.
Okay. For me, on issue number 3, with the Batmobile, I don't know. The story dragged a little bit here as I read back through it. I'll give it a 4.5. I did, it's if it did a little bit more than what it did, even though it did a lot, it would be perfect. But I'll put it at almost perfect. What about you?
For number 3,
Yeah,
I give it a 3.5.
all right. For me, number 4, issue 4, it's Batman and Batgirl. I love how the two of them approach detective work differently, where she basically does the searching for information, but she goes off kind of, not, she goes off without really thinking about it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when she does this in later issues. So I like the art changes. They're a little strange with some of the other characters, like the cops, because I think when Facebook was drawing the cops, they looked a little bit more hard-edged, and when Najin is drawing them and Friedolfs, they seem a little bit more cartoony. I like the cartoon style for Batman and Batgirl in issue 4, but it doesn't work with the rest of the characters, I don't think. Not with the cops anyway. Specifically the Bullock, Bard, and Forbes. Number 4, I'll give it another 4.5. It is really enjoyable. What about you for number 4?
I'll probably match yours.
All right. Now let me ask you, after reading these first 4 issues, are you going to want to continue reading this series, or?
I'll probably wait and pick it up as a trade so I can read it all at once. Because it's not one of those ones I care to spend $4 week after week.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather spend the three. Well, actually, this isn't a $4 book. You know that, right?
I don't know. I'm not too impressed with a lot of the DC stuff coming out right now. So
yeah, no, these are all $2.99 issues. So they're $3 books. So they're basically the same price as a Nightwing or a Batgirl issue. I would rather pick this up than pick up Batman right now, honestly. Even though issue 30 was pretty damn good for the first chapter of the final chapter of Zero Year, I'm still more excited for Eternal than I am for the current Batman ongoing that Snyder's doing.
Oh, that I will totally agree with you.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. This was kind of a test. I'm not saying that we're going to continue doing single issues for Bat Eternal. We might, we may not. Steve may not want to do issues 5 through 8, so I may have somebody else come in. I'm not sure.
Probably.
I don't I don't honestly know if I could wait for trade on this one. I really don't, because it's got me excited to reading Snyder's Batman again. To read him writing that character. The Eternal series has got me excited for reading his writing for Batman again, just like I was excited reading Court of Owls. So, I don't know if I could wait for trades on this one. I really don't. Alright, coming up next here on Batman Month, we kick it off once again with episode 68, where JT and I talk about Batman 66, issues 5 through 8. Steve, where can the people reach you online if they would like to do so?
On Twitter at SCP21.
You can reach me on Twitter at TFG1Mike. You can also follow at Geekcast Radio for all the other Geekcast Radio Network updates. Don't forget to enter our contest for the 5-year online. You heard the ad at the beginning of the podcast. Make it your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
Happy? Call me when it's important, and not before.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.